Okay. One championship to go in the one-make races. And then after that, the only championship we'll have left is the Formula GT World Championship. So before we do anything else, we're just going to do our usual tuning. I know now that the engine tuning is not really needed. However, I will put some nitrous on, and I will also put on the grippy racing mediums, so on-track pace will not be an issue for me compared to the AI. And now let's go and do the Lupo Cup, with what will also be our penultimate championship of the game. So this time, the prize money for winning is 5 grand, and once again we've got another 25 grand total if we win the championship overall. So, once again, starting off at Fuji 90s like we did before, but this time we're also heading to Germany for the Nürburgring, then back to Japan for Tsukuba and then Suzuka, and then to finish off we're heading to the California Bay, where we get to finish at Sonoma. So let's go and do the Lupo Cup. This is a one-make race between VW's smallest competitor. And so for this, pretty much the sort of field I was expecting. So we've got 2 Lupo Cup cars and 3 GTI Cup cars. But including me, it makes for 4 GTI Cup cars. So, gonna take off the assists, like I always do. And let's now go racing. I already figured, because I got the buying part out the way, that might as well be the first thing I end up doing before doing the event. And I think because I already have everything I need, hopefully that should be all we need. And I find it somewhat fitting to say that because we started this off, our race events in this game using the VW Lupo, it feels somewhat fitting to say that we're ending off the one-make championships using a VW Lupo, in all honesty. And I think because we're heading over to Nürburgring in this championship, I think that might be where I end up saving the replay. It's just something I have on my mind. As I get through the chicane at a pretty reasonable rate of speed. I'm only 4/10 behind the leader, and rather surprisingly, I have not had to use any nitrous. It has pretty much been my grip that has done all the talking. And yep, that is definitely one of the 2000 Cup cars that was in front of me. because I don't have the artistic Lupo sticker on the rear of my car. And because we'll be heading to Nürburgring in the race immediately following this one, I think that might be where I end up saving the replay for this event. As I am trying to not let my voice die like it did before. Even though the pollen surrounding us right now is really trying to kill it off. But anyway, I'm still out front as the black Lupo really tries to see if he can tip me, but it's not going to work. I am going to successfully hold him off and maybe see if it's enough. I don't think he's going to do anything with me. I am staying out of the slipstream to see what happens. He is closing in, but he's not going to be close enough to stop me, as I win in the end by 3.5 tenths over the black Cup car. And then we had the GTI Cup cars from 3rd down to 5th, and the other Cup car finished in last. So this could be an interesting one. But anyway, 1 race down, and still 4 to go. 5 grand is mine. And now we will head to Nürburgring. So this ought to be interesting. But I will say the GTI Cup cars, they were pretty fast at Fuji, because they were all able to clear the orange Lupo. I'm going to assume he must have been shuffled to the back of the field, unless he got pinched somewhere by one of the GTI Lupos. I don't know how much power the 2000 Lupo has, but I would imagine it's got to be something similar to the GTI Lupo Cup cars. As I already move up to 5th. And yep, already the grip is proving to be monstrously fast to start with. I don't know if I can control this pace. But I will, however, use some nitrous. The Nürburgring is very bumpy, but thankfully we only have to do 1 full circuit around here. And because of how long the lap is, I am going to make sure I get to the front pretty early on, because that is what I aim to do. And lifting off the throttle for a moment there so I can get through that corner. That is a pretty infamous corner, I might add. So 1.6 seconds is the gap to the two Lupo Cup cars, the non-GTI Lupos I should say, as they battle it out for first. But I am catching up to them. My superior grip is getting me through the corners with vast rates of knots, with a rather vast rate of knots, and the gap is now just over a second, so I think I should be in the lead pretty soon here, from what I can see. Had a little snap of oversteer there, probably because my car got caught on the bump. It's very easy to get caught out by the bumps here because since the Nürburgring is run on pretty much more than a century old country roads, essentially, is what it's run on. Based in the Eifel region, I believe, with the Eifel Mountains being pretty much up and around the course, aside from obviously the Eifel forest that surrounds it. And looking for a manoeuvre, don't think I can find any room on the inside. I will say the AI are pretty fast in these Lupos. They've definitely got some pace. And I think it's only fitting that, in a way, I should be locked in a battle here at Nürburgring of all places. I get forced to the inside again, but this time I don't lift. And now I am at the front of the field once again. As we now head towards the carousel. And because I am driving a cup car, I don't need to lift, or really go off the throttle for that matter, for that section of road. And now, heading up to the carousel, perhaps one of the most iconic corners in all of racing. You've really got to stick it to the inside to get a good apex. It can also be very easy to lose control of your car there if you overdo it with the entry speed. And it looks as though I am slowly pulling away from the rest of the field. Oh, shit. Okay, it's fine. We survived. We survived with no real consequences. And so, this is now how it looks to end here at Nürburgring. Probably didn't need to downshift there, but I did anyway, just out of precaution. Just got a few corners to go now before we reach the Dottinger Hoe straightaway. Been driving now for 7 minutes and I have a 6-second gap up front because my grippier tyres are helping me through the perilous storm. So, onto the Dottinger Hoe straightaway we now go, for the first and only time of this championship. And it looks as though no one is going to beat me to the line. Got a 13-second gap now out front. I doubt anyone is going to catch me from here. Unless I make a major mistake, but even if that does happen, at this point, I'm about as secured for the win as you can make me. And so, that is now one full lap of Nürburgring Nordschleife done, and 87 points to boot, as this time the orange Lupo does manage to finish second over the black Lupo, and I think was probably the only one who registered a finishing time. But anyway. And the other GTI Cup cars, well, they weren't really anywhere by comparison. But anyway, 20 points to me, 10 points to the black Lupo, 7 points to the orange Lupo, 6 points to the red GTI Lupo and also to the green GTI Lupo. And then at the back is the yellow GTI Lupo with, I think, just 4 points. Is that right? Oh, 3 points. Okay, I was close. Anyway, save replay time. Alright, Tsukuba. Need I say anything more? I think once we got to the end of the lap at the Nürburgring and I was pretty much just hardly braking for most of the mid to high speed corners, that was pretty much how I managed to eventually get myself to the front of the field. And using some nitrous, just so I don't fall off the pace. Make a little bit of contact there with one of the GTI Lupos. Probably the yellow one again from what I can see. Even though it's not intentional contact. think he was giving me a little Morse code there, but I can tell you what he was doing, realistically. Yep, my wires are getting very, very tangled at the moment. And they are trying to put me off. But I am doing my best to not let them put me off. Regardless of how tangled they might be. You know, I'm actually surprised to say the GTI Lupos are not really doing anything at the moment. At least in terms of doing anything at least in terms of not doing anything regarding passing each other. Even though the yellow GTI Lupo is trying to change that. Is trying to flip the script. I'm also using some nitrous here because I don't want to get left behind, which at this stage is kind of what's happening. And of course, if I didn't have the nitrous now, then that's pretty much what would still be happening. But I'm still in this. Making sure to use my nitrous in the right spots. And now I'm up to second. And trying to see if I can get a run. Using nitrous so I don't fall behind. And can I get past him? Yes, I can. Come on, go, 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 go. Oh my god, I did not think that was gonna work. Jesus Christ. I really thought for sure that was going to be another photo finish where I ended up on the wrong end of the stick, but I just had enough to get my nose out. That was literally by mere inches. Kind of had to cheat to do it, but nonetheless I did get it done, and that's what I wanted to do. I was just wanting to prove that I could actually beat the AI in a side-by-side finish as much as they have been beating me in side-by-side finishes. Really was not thinking that was going to be enough, but I'm so glad it turned out to be enough. Because it means it's one less race to worry about, and also one less race for me to sweep. Alright, 2 to go. We've got Tsukuba, and then we've got Sonoma. Let's get through Suzuka first. And off the line once again, I only get very little wheel spin. And still, the yellow Lupo does nothing to stop the red Lupo. Sorry, does nothing to pass the green Lupo. And currently not managing to do anything to stop the orange Lupo, but I do manage to at least slot up his inside. And I've got a great run through Dunlop and now heading into the two Degners. Quite aggressive to get me from the outside, but I will at least oblige by that, because, well, it's still racing. Okay, that was not intentional, that was just as a result of understeer. I did not do that on purpose, just to be clear. That was unintentional. So, through Spoon Corner we go now. He's trying to see if he can pip me from the outside, but I shut the door on him. The rest of the field is really closing in now. I think this very well could be a freight train, the way things are looking. But I seem to at least be holding my own for now. And oh my god, I passed him from the outside at 130R. Did not think that was actually going to work, but it somehow did. And as a result, I get the best possible run. And this time, the red GTI does manage to pass the orange GTI for third. But ultimately, I hold them off at Suzuka. And a double podium once again for the GTI Cup cars. Let's fucking go. As I get a bump from behind by the black Lupo. Anyway. Here's our points now. After 4 rounds, I have an 18-point lead now over the black Lupo. The orange Lupo is battling with the red GTI Lupo for 4th now, because there's only a point between it. But we'll wait and see what happens, because we still have Sonoma to get through. Then once we're past Sonoma, we can just focus on the GTI Cup. So here we are at Sonoma, California for our final race of the Lupo Cup. Okay. Had to do a few things actually. Aside from me adjusting my chair, I also figured because my water bottle was running low, I had to fill that up, and I also took a few bites out of my apple as well, just to give me a little bit of extra energy. I think I've now cleared the tracks where I was most likely to lose. So hopefully this track should be able to blast me again in terms of letting me off the hook. I hope. And I do manage to get through the carousel at the rate of knots I wanted to get through it at. And I can definitely say the AI are really going aggressive with these Lupos. They are literally not taking any prisoners whatsoever. And that works out well for me because it now takes me to the front of the field. which is pretty much what I had to do. So, pretty close battle at the moment for the race lead, as it's going to be a 2:01 at the line. There's probably a few corners where I would be likely to break away from them, but until then, I'm just gonna keep digging and hope if possible I can strike gold, like I have done 4 times before. And maybe if it's possible, after this my voice will no longer be dead. Or close to that. And I think I've now created that separation I needed. And the GTI Lupos seem to be fighting amongst themselves. So it looks as though it will be the 2000 Lupos who will take the advantage over the GTI Lupos. Could have went with the 2000 Lupo if I wanted to, but I went with the 03 model simply because, well, it told me how much horsepower it had, and also because, well, there was just more choice. And also because in general I think the blue colour scheme with this thing goes pretty well. And that is the end of our penultimate championship. So we've come a long way, as I achieve victory by 6 seconds, and everyone does manage to finish, as this time the yellow GTI Lupo manages to get past the green Lupo. So these are your points. A perfect 50 for me, 28 points to the black Lupo, 18 points to the orange Lupo, and then the GTI Lupos, the red one was 4th with 16, then it was the green GTI Lupo who scored 11 points, and at the back with 7, it was the yellow GTI Lupo. The number 24, I should add. And 25 grand as ours, and we're now back to over 900,000, but I might have to do some more grinding before we get on with the endurance events. I did save the Nürburgring replay, didn't I? I got a feeling that says I did, but I just want to check. Yes, I do. So 50, 28, 18, 16, 11, and 7 are your final point scores for the Lupo Cup, as the yellow GTI Lupo rounds off the field. And what are we going to win this time? We get the Volkswagen Carmen Gear Coupe Type 1 from 1968. And also whatever it says on the VW license plate. Anyway, that's now both championships done, and all we have left is the GTI Cup. So we are moving along nicely, and we now just have one make event to go. So we're now at 93.7%. So I think it's suffice to say at least a third of the game's progress was in the one make event. And this thing sells again for $4,000, but I'm not gonna do anything with it because I like to keep my cars. Plus it's also a nice collection to have as well, if you're that way inclined. I don't know, I just like to do it anyway. Okay, I think what we're gonna do for our last one make event is we're gonna buy ourselves a GTI car. That's how we're gonna start it. So, next time on Gran Turismo 4, finishing the one make events with the GTI Cup. Coming up next.